Presented by Listen Headlines, latest world news from trusted sources. Updating daily at 6 a.m. New York.
Mirror World News.
June 23, 5:03 America, New York. Brits facing firing squad by sham Russian court set to appeal death sentence. Aidan Aslin, 28, and Sean Pinner, 48, are facing execution after being convicted in a show trial of alleged war crimes by a pro-Russian proxy court. Both men were captured in Mariupol.
New York Times World News. June 23, 5 o'clock America, New York. Biden's inner circle debates future of offshore drilling. Top White House officials have assumed control over a sensitive blueprint, expected by June 30, laying out future oil and gas drilling leases in the outer continental shelf. President Biden hosted the Major Economies Forum on Energy and Climate from the White House last week. New York Times World News. June 23, 5 o'clock America, New York. A gay pilot reflects on what travel means to queer folks. As Pride is celebrated around the world, a traveler recalls the cities that helped shape his identity and dreams.
Washington Post World. June 23, 4:45 America, New York. After restaurant attack, authorities continue to gaslight China's women. The attack in Tangshan has prompted Chinese women to criticize lax attitudes about gender-based violence. Washington Post World.
June 23, 4:10 America, New York. Sri Lanka's economy has completely collapsed, Prime Minister says. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe spoke to Parliament after weeks of economic and political turmoil.
RT World News.
June 23, 3:50 America, New York. Fed chief at odds with Biden over cause of U.S. inflation. Russia's military operation in Ukraine is not the primary driver, Jerome Powell told lawmakers.
BBC News World.
June 23, 2:41 America, New York. Sexual harassment at Western Australia mines, appalling and systemic. It has been generally accepted or overlooked at sites run by large firms, a landmark report says.
BBC News World.
June 23, 1:57 America, New York. World Aquatics Championships. U.S. artistic swimmer Anita Alvarez rescued by coach after fainting in pool. American artistic swimmer Anita Alvarez is rescued from the bottom of the pool by her coach after fainting at the World Aquatics Championships.
BBC News World.
June 23, 0:22 America, New York. New Tesla factories losing billions of dollars, Musk says. Elon Musk said the COVID-19 lockdown in Shanghai was very difficult for the electric car maker.
New York Times World News.
June 23, 0:06 America, New York. Your Thursday briefing. Ukraine's president addresses African leaders. Sacks of wheat flour at the Hamar Wayne market in Mogadishu, Somalia, last month.
Mirror World News.
June 22, 23:56 America, New York. Restaurant worker catches fire while cleaning as onlookers hold him up to sprinklers. The 24-year-old worker was placed into an induced coma after the cleaning product he was using caught fire at the On Sunset Lebanese restaurant in Parramatta, Sydney.
Mirror World News.
June 22, 23:28 America, New York. Brit journalist's Amazon death was collateral damage, Vice President claims. Brit journalist Dom Phillips was killed as collateral damage, said the Brazil vice president, during what he claimed was a drunken attack on his travel partner Bruno Pereira.
Washington Post World.
June 22, 23:28 America, New York. 4 people wounded by man on stabbing rampage in New Zealand. Authorities say a man wounded 4 people in a stabbing rampage in a New Zealand city before bystanders brought him to the ground.
The Washington Times Stories. Advocacy.
June 22, 23:23 America, New York. Publix won't offer COVID-19 vaccine to children under 5. A major grocery chain that was among the leaders in the early distribution of COVID-19 vaccines will now refuse to provide the jab to preschool-age children.
The Washington Times Stories. Advocacy.
June 22, 22:53 America, New York. Former Tesla worker rejects $15 million award in racism case. A black former Tesla worker who said he was harassed and faced with daily racist epithets, including the N-word, while working at the company's Fremont, California, plant has rejected a substantially reduced award of $15 million in his lawsuit.
World News. Breaking international news and headlines, Sky News. June 22, 2232 America New York. NATO set to agree biggest defenses overhaul since the Cold War, including expansion of 40,000-strong response force. NATO looks set to agree next week to the biggest overhaul of its defenses since the Cold War, including a major expansion of a 40,000-strong force on alert to respond in a crisis. RT World News. June 22, 2207 America New York. U.S. helps Israel to prepare for military escalation. The military exercises simulated renewed unrest along Israel's northern border amid a territorial dispute with Lebanon.